Elle with the good, I presume, hotel lighting. Where the hell are you now?
I don't know, Gary. Maybe you're gonna have to around and find out.
Oh, oh, was that a threat or a promise?
Welcome to the Elle Duncan Show with Gary Streisky. I am coming to you from a hotel overlooking the giant lake that looks like an ocean here in Chicago. I am at NABJ,
Oh,
which is the National Association of Black Journalists. And Lollapalooza is happening right outside my window. In fact, I am watching them set up the stages right now that at some point
whoa.
will be joined by Meg the Stallion and a guy who I like, but there's a lot of debate about how you say his name. Okay.
Oh,
Hozier. Who is that
Hosier.
to you?
That's Hosier.
That's what I said.
That's Hosier.
People today have been like, yeah, I'm going to see Hosier.
No, okay. Those
Hosier. I'm
people,
like, I thought it was Hosier.
okay, those people they're playing way too much into the Olympics being in
You're being
Paris. It's
French.
not Hosier, dude.
Hosier.
What? Hosier. What? Elle,
Thank you.
teach them a lesson.
I'm going to. You're too sweet for me. Okay. You're too sweet for me. That could honestly, instead of the around and find out crew, which is what the U.S. women's gymnastics team unofficially nicknamed themselves, they
Yes.
could also be the you're too sweet. I thought they were too sweet until they won. And they have
Elle.
never, ever, ever in my life, I have never felt more connected
Oh,
to an Olympic team than this team because the petty is on full display. And I
actually, that's very
love
true. This is very much a team embodiment of what you stand for.
which is be a gracious loser, be a graceless winner. Come after
Oh,
everyone. Talk your say anything you want. This is your time. So, of course, Simone Biles and company do this amazing, fantastic thing, and they win the gold medal. And people were like, what's your nickname? What's your, and she said, well, we are sort of like the F around and find out crew, right? And
yes.
then afterwards, after they get gold, this is a few years removed from the disappointing silver medal that they got in Tokyo, where Simone Biles had to quit because of the twisties and it just was a mess. She takes to Instagram and she quotes Michaela Skinner, a former Olympian who was on that 2021 team that went to Japan, who earlier in the year said that she wasn't sure if this team could win gold because they really lacked talent and they weren't really having a great work ethic and da 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 da. So what does Simone Biles do? Does she just post a picture that's like, thank you so much for the opportunity? I love so much that I have like 38 medals now. Did she do any of that? No. She took a picture and she posted with the caption, lack of talent, lazy Olympic champions. That's a read on you, Michaela Skinner, and I love it.
Damn, Elle. I mean, I think it's quite ironic that the only thing that could not even slow down the U.S. women's gymnastics Olympic team is somebody from within, a sleeper cell from within, a teammate turned foe from just 3 years ago. I mean, these Olympians have pictures together back to back, Michaela Skinner and Simone Biles. And listen, I'm not trying to play like devil's advocate or anything. Skinner was alluding to how things have changed, and that's why like that dog ain't quite in maybe this crop of gymnasts. She probably said it with a little bit more disdain because of course she is not part of this team and she's now making a living on making these videos on YouTube. But to be on Simone Biles's wrong side, enemy side, is not a side I would want to be on because she's America's freaking sweetheart. So to go against her would be going against the red, white, and blue in and of itself, Elle.
That and also I think the where Michaela Skinner was coming from is such a place of trauma. She was basically alluding to the fact that because the Carolis aren't around anymore to essentially abuse gymnasts,
Mm-hmm.
that they are not going to reach within themselves and pull out that intensity because they don't have someone essentially abusing them to get it. And that's essentially what she was saying. And she
Verbally,
would later go on
everything.
when she backtracked and say, I'm so sorry. Like, I must, this is obviously just trauma and like an old school way of thinking. But I think that's the problem is that we think that the only way to get the best out of people is to abuse them or to, try and pull out some monster or animal out of them. And we heard Simone Biles say in the interview right after they won the gold this is what it looks like when you're in a welcoming, warm environment, when you are supported, when people support your mental health. And she meant that directly to the USOC, who for so long it was all about, what was happening with the coaches and the abuse. And we know how bad Olympics gymnastics has been in the US over the last 10 to 15 years. We know the stories, we've heard them of abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, all of those things. And so what Simone was alluding to there is that you can still get these results by supporting your athletes as opposed to antagonizing them. And I think that's the biggest problem and the biggest takeaway. Apart from the petty part, it's that Michaela still very much thinks like a lot of other people do. It's that Bill Parcells, Bobby Knight way of coaching that you've got to be their enemy. You've got to somehow like find this second gear by being as nasty as possible to pull it out of them. And that is what she meant by they don't have the drive because they're not getting screamed at like I did. And when in fact they had certainly enough of a drive and motivation that they won gold again.
After being ostracized from Olympic Island, like Skinner has, because Suni Lee obviously commenting underneath the picture. Then you have Michaela Maroney coming out of left field and is like, I have to apologize for my namesake, Elle. How does one maintain having a voice? This is an impossible question to ask, but it's a hypothetical that you have to ask now because Michaela sort of backed herself into a corner. How does one continue to be a authority on the sport, which she deserves to be? She's an Olympic medalist in this sport, but the sport in its entirety effectively was like, yo, how's that taste? That sucks. That's got to feel real bad.
Well, she is a medalist, but I think I saw someone post that she is at this point the only Olympian in the last however many years to not get a gold
That's
medal
crazy.
because of what happened last year. I mean, honestly, I think that in the theme of this, entire part of the show, around and find out, I think what she did was found out what happens even when you join a seemingly innocuous podcast and you give your opinion. And if you say something
Yeah.
that is seemingly very disparaging against a group of, if you're being predictive and you're saying they don't have the work ethic, it's fine to say, I just don't see it for this particular team. But to talk about people's work ethic and ability, I mean, she is absolutely getting slammed. In fact, Simone Biles ended
Yeah.
up getting blocked by her.
That's
Michaela
crazy.
Maroney, to your point, is actually getting some ancillary heat because people are like, oh, it's a Michaela and it's a gymnast. Like,
Yeah.
shut up. She's like, it's not me. It's the
It
other one. It's the Skinner,
pre-fills.
not the Maroney.
You're on Instagram looking it up, and that one's going to pre-fill because she's got more followers. So that bumps straight to the top. And all of a sudden, she's catching absolute strays from
So
people who
many
are like,
strays.
you suck.
So many strays. But I do think that it's an
Fafo.
important lesson that even if you're talking to a tiny little, what you think is a tiny little podcast, those words carry. It's the
That's
internet, it's
correct.
social media. And I doubt she thought it would become as big as it is. And maybe she thought that the Olympic team would take the high road afterwards and just move on and not mention her. But I love it. When they go low, we go lower, baby. Let's get in the mud and let's come after you. Speaking of which, because I think this whole entire, like, especially for the women early on in this Olympics, has been F around and find out. So much talk about, who should and shouldn't be on the women's team for basketball. And are they going to need Caitlin Clark? And there was even a sign at their first game when they were facing Japan that was like, you can't be this without Caitlin Clark. Now, that was probably pretty stupid and poking the bear, but we saw exactly what we expected to see, a dominant, bruising victory against a Japanese team that just wasn't there or ready. And they are now, talking about the women's basketball, 56-0 in the Olympics since 1992, which was the inaugural year when they had women's basketball in the Olympics. That is the first step towards winning their 8th consecutive gold, but it has been amazing. Stewie, Asia were so nasty. I think they took over half the shots for the team. Like, this is exactly what we were trying to tell you, which is that this team is going to be just fine. And even with the competition will get better. The Japan, even the team that they're facing
They get Belgium
today.
today.
Yeah, they got
Today's
Belgium
today's
today.
Thursday. We're taping about 12:30 Eastern,
Yeah,
so they tip with Belgium, who's only making, I think this is their first Olympics, maybe their second.
sure.
They tip with them at 3 p.m. Eastern, and they just got beat by Germany.
Sure,
And I always
exactly.
confuse the two because their flags are just inverted colors
They
and
are.
inverted versions
They're very
of each
similar.
other. So
Yeah.
that should be
Like
another.
Australia and Great Britain. You're like, one of you just has it in the corner, one of you has it as your whole flag.
Which one of these teams or which one of these flags seems like it has an accent? The thing that I can't believe you said was like, oh wow, Diana Taurasi only scored 2 points in 15 minutes. Caitlin Clark could have done that. Remember when you said that? I can't believe you said that, but you said that, and I can't believe you said that on your show.
It's not at all what I said. And also, This notion that everyone's going to be able to put 20 something points up is ridiculous. We've already addressed what Dawn said last week, that if they had to redo it again, then yeah, they probably would have put Caitlin Clark on this team. But alas, she's living her best life, hanging out with Zach Bryan and Lexi Hull at his concerts. She's,
She's on
getting a
stage
chance
singing,
to grocery shop and like be
doing her
herself and be
thing.
a person. So she's fine.
Fact. Yeah, actually, every player on the U.S. women's national team scored against Japan, and that
Mhm.
was the gold medal game in Tokyo. So it's not like Japan was some. I mean, 3 years is a long time, but they got a good shot right out of the gate. But yeah, Stewie going for 22, Asia Wilson went for 24 or something like that. It's a wrap. I didn't know it was 56-0. I thought there was a loss sprinkled in there somewhere over the
Yeah,
last
man.
32 years, but nah, nah,
They're out here
that's crazy.
dominating, man.
That's
They're
crazy.
out, they're out here dominating. Now, someone did take a loss in the basketball world this week, though, and I love her, but she's wrong here. Sheryl Swoopes, former WNBA player, we all know that, current host of Queen of the Court podcast. She had some thoughts. She's had some thoughts previously about Caitlin. She would later have to apologize of those thoughts being uninformed, taking she shoots like 60 shots a game, just being a little bit inflammatory and critical without any actual analysis. And she apologized for that during the women's college season. And she's now stepped in it again by saying that Indiana is in the playoffs right now without Caitlin Clark, by saying that like Katie Lou Samuelson's really more integral in terms of her two-way ability than Caitlin, and also saying that, and I don't besmirch her for this because lots of people are making arguments for whether they think that it is Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark that should be Rookie of the Year. I've said that I think it's Caitlin, but that I could understand someone making an argument for the other. It's not hate to make an argument for Angel Reese, so I don't take any issue with that part. But the other part, it just feels like there is something there, and I'm not really sure what is not connecting with Sheryl and why. And I don't know if some of that is driven in sort of the hurt that she felt from the fan base or some of the attacks that were leveled at her
Mhm.
after she had those comments a few months ago. But this feels really, really, really off par. This just doesn't feel right at all. And it is starting to feel a little bit like hate from Sheryl, who just in this particular space, stop. Like if
For
the
sure.
if the Fever, who won a handful of games last year, are in the playoffs this year, then you have to understand that a large part of that is Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. Either one of them, I would have accepted either one
Correct.
of those.
Kelsey Mitchell too. I mean, listen, and you are way closer to the space, um, to the WNBA space as I am. So I understand you will cross paths with Sheryl Swoop. So you have to be sort of cautious the way we deliver this about a Hall of Famer, a champion in Sheryl Swoopes, but she is Elle tripping. What is she talking about? The Indiana Fever won 13 games last year, and they were an 11 seed, or they finished 10th out of 12 teams. Right now, they are an 8 seed. They are in the playoffs, 2 wins away with half a season to go to get their total wins from last year. Caitlin Clark leads the team in every statistical category but rebounding. There's I don't understand what corner you can look at with this argument she's making and be like, you know what? There's some validity there. That's insane. You could make the argument that the Chicago Sky are worse than they were last year. And last year they were a playoff team. That's crazy. They're on the fringe. So anyway, I know that you've compartmentalized into those being two different discussions, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, that's standalone. But this whole this beef that's very much one-sided, Sheryl Swoopes to Caitlin Clark, is insane, dude.
And again, I think like, so much respect for Sheryl Swoopes, who she is a person, the things that she's overcome, the player that she was. She is an OG, and certainly so many of these young women stand on her shoulders. But this just doesn't seem built in reality or fact.
No,
Like if you want to make a really critical, analytical argument and you want to support it with research or whatnot, I get that, or even just support it with your own opinion. But this just feels, it feels like it's just not true. It just feels like you're intentionally trying to minimize who she is. And the positive, if I'm looking for one positive in all of this though, is that if this happens a few months ago, this becomes, see, the women of the W are hating on Caitlin and they hate her. And we've covered that on this show plenty. What I appreciate is that with time and with the benefit of hindsight on our side, I
mm-hmm.
am noticing much more calm in terms of people saying, this is her opinion. This is not the opinion of everyone in the W. I think there have been enough cases of women in the W over the last few months supporting Caitlin, showing their support. I think there's been enough of that now that people can now take something that's seemingly inflammatory and give it and lay it at the feet of that person, as opposed to making it an entire diatribe on everyone in the W and how all of these Black women hate Caitlin Clark. So I will say that's the positive. If this is sort of purely been put at Sheryl Swoopes' feet, like, I don't agree with you here, Sheryl, I'm sorry. As opposed to where it was a few months ago, which is this is just another example of just the insane amount of hate that's coming her way. I think we've moved past that. I hope so. And I think that this is the greatest indication that we have.
Okay, cool. Cheryl just needs to chill because none of it's true.
You know what? She needs to chill out. Speaking of which, there was zero chill while we were watching the rugby sevens. I have to be totally
Hey,
100% transparent with you. I did not know there was a difference between, like, what is typically how many people are in rugby.
exactly, Elle. And listen, I could certainly break those rules down for you, okay, but I'm not here to sort of mansplain anything on your program. I feel
Oh,
like there's an
oh,
authority. I feel like there's an authority in the space, boots on the ground, who can break all of that down. For like, could I? For sure. Do I want
oh,
to?
okay.
Def not. Def
Sure,
not,
sure,
Elle.
sure, sure, sure. No, I appreciate you really looking out for me in that way. I will say this, whether you actually know any of the rules about rugby or not, it's clear that they were one of the biggest social media presences of all of the Olympics team. And that really
Yes.
begins and ends with Alana Mayer, who was fantastic. But the person that is out there that was covering that and will be covering a ton of things for us is one of our general reporters at ESPN, Coley Harvey. And so we're going to check in with him from France right now. I got to be honest, and you would know this because you covered the rugby sevens. Is Alana Mayer, is she the breakout star of the Olympics so far?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, she was the viral star after what, day two or day three when she had that stiff arm. And in fact, I was at that championship or not championship, that bronze medal match that the US had. And that was such an unreal ending. I still can't wrap my head around whatever I witnessed. I kind of had my head down like, okay, it looks like they might be getting ready to lose. And then all of a sudden, they have the equivalent for our non-rugby sports fans out there. It was the equivalent of having a kick return with like 2 seconds left on the clock, a kick return all the way to the house as a walk-off to win the game. That's essentially what took place to close out that rugby sevens game. And it wasn't Alana Mayer who ended up having that score. It was actually Alex Cedric, and they call her Spiff. That's her nickname, a longtime nickname, Spiffy. That's kind of a play off on that. Anyway, Spiff just took off, and her in her mindset, she said after the game, it was thinking about Alana Mayer and trying to figure out how to channel some of her inside of herself. She's a much smaller woman than Alana Mayer is. And so she still said, look, I wanted to pay homage to my big girl. That's a verbatim quote from her. I want to pay homage to my big girl. I wanted to make sure that I could get down the field the same way that she probably would. And that was running through two defenders and then having green grass in front of her. And unreal. That was just a really cool way to end it. Technically, that score tied it. That try, as they call it in rugby, tied it. She had to kick the conversion kick for the actual win. And she actually told me pregame, she was told that she might have to kick at some point. She's not really a kicker on the team. She was told she might have to kick, so she tried. She had two attempts, shanked both of them badly, and was like, "I don't think I'm going to be able to do this." Sure enough, she got out there, made her try when it mattered most, and Team USA won Rugby Sevens. It was unreal. I definitely think as a team, they are probably some of the breakout stars in the Olympics, and we saw it after the game, after the match. $4 million grant given to them, donation given to them by a woman who is really invested in women's sports, owns three women's soccer teams, including the Washington Spirit of the NWSL. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to rugby sevens for the U.S. In LA in 4 years.
I also just want to say, like, I'm so annoyed that Alana Mayer had to address while she's trying to compete at the Olympics at the highest level, that she had to talk about her body type because people were being so inflammatory and calling her fat and making comments about how she looked. And the idea that she had to spend a single second on that is absolutely disgusting to me. But I also think that it was such an important conversation and probably so uplifting for so many women who don't have these prototypical body types, who don't feel represented or seen when it comes to athletes who, are lean or look some certain kind of way, and to be able to redefine what beauty looks like all the time. Like for her to own that and embrace that and address that on the one side felt completely unnecessary. On the other side, I thought was really special as well. So she is amazing. She's my new girl. She's my girl. We're going to be homies. We're going to be friends. We love that. Coley Harvey, you've always been a homie. We appreciate you for joining us here and have so much fun at the Olympics. We can't wait to check in with you. Hopefully next week after track is underway.
But
That'd
don't
be
drink the
awesome.
water, Coley.
Yeah, no, well, the water's fine. Just don't get in the water.
Yeah.
Drink the water.
Just look at it.
Thank you,
Coley,
thank you
thanks.
guys so much.
Peace out, Coley. I just want to say, like, I do also appreciate Alona sticking up and speaking out for other people who share possibly her 30% BMI, me being one of them. Probably a little bit higher, to be honest with you. I'm in a bulk phase right now. Okay, I'm in a bulk phase. I've been in a bulk phase for the last couple decades.
Yeah. Yeah, I really got my bulkiest ever. I had a couple of kids, and I mostly carry all of my bulk in my lower pooch area, but that's totally fine.
Okay. Okay. It's cut season, though. Okay. It's August. It's the Sunday of summer. Okay. Now it's time to cut.
But is there anything more symbolic of like the trash of social media than some big fat on his couch tweeting at her, an Olympic athlete in like the toughest sport where you have to be tough as nails, strong as a true athlete? Is there anything worse than like that big fat piece of telling her she's not in shape and she's gross, judging her body, an Olympic athlete? Like, you're the worst.
It's insane. Her physique is legit. Like, she can go stand in the Louvre and people would be like, why is this not marble? Yeah. People would come and be like knocking on her shoulders, dude. Like, it's insane.
Forget Mona Lisa. Give me Alona Mare. Yeah, right? Put her ass up in the Louvre.
Facts, dude. Just right next to it. It's another piece of art. Yeah.
All right, coming up, we've had some pretty funny moments in the Olympics, so we'll break through a few of them. I have no idea what Gary has put in this show. I'm just going to read and react with the rest of you.
Same.
And we back on the Elle Duncan Show with Gary Striesky, running through some of our favorite funny moments from the Olympics. And of course, we've told you and cleared up that we have no rights in this video, so we're just combing through the internet.
Correct.
We are looking for some of the funnier moments. And this was actually not happening at the Olympics.
Still hurt.
All of the Chinese fans, based on someone whose attention you brought to us last week, Gary, are like, change your freaking rules, because China, their women's basketball team, they have a 17-year-old who is how tall, Gary?
It's like 7'3".
Yeah. Shang Shu is her name, but because of China's rules that you cannot be on the Olympics if you're under 18, she cannot actually play. But when you see the unfairness of her standing up against, who's she playing here, Gary?
South Korea, Elle, and that's how and why it hurts me. Okay. It's just it's like Little Giants when they were stacked up against on top of each other, or Little Rascals trying to sneak into the movie. Elle, it's not fair.
Well, my favorite part of this is that the girl that's in the, they're doing the jump.
Just lets her.
She just gives up. She just gives up. She's like, I'm not trying to jump for that. Why would I do that?
Nah, you can have this, which is hilarious to me that like that's an international rule, right, for China. Yet they'll we got 11-year-old gymnasts. We got
100%.
We got 16-year-old synchronized divers. We got 12-year-old skateboarders. Like, really, China, that's where you're going to draw the line?
Correct.
Anyway, Elle, what about the next one? From our friends in Italy.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So I saw this, and this was at the time, it was like, okay, awesome. Did you just AI an Italian girl holding cheese? Because that feels very stereotypical.
And it looks like it is kind of an AI picture for sure.
It really does. But it turns out that this is an Olympic silver medalist named Giorgia Via. And she is, in fact, sponsored by Parmesan cheese. And so she just kind of randomly will post pictures of herself holding giant wheels of cheese. And I feel like this is probably kink for someone. Like, I feel like there is some function of there's like some small group of the population that is like, this is basically akin to porn. Like, this is hot.
For sure. Elle, you can just ask me. I'm right here. Yeah, for sure. No, hey, listen, you seem like the kind of person, this is a compliment, who has been to a restaurant where you can order like pasta, and they'll take this wheel of cheese and like stir it in
Yeah.
just the
Carve it.
cheese wheel.
Hmm.
No, and just like dump it in the cheese
Yeah.
wheel and the cheese like melts into it. I would love to experience that, Elle, and I'm just assuming you've been there. How is it?
Well, Gary, you have to leave the Olive Garden in order to get that treatment. But if you did,
I
you would
refuse.
understand. It's fine. It's fine. It's not,
It's
it's like,
fine.
it's fine. It's not that cool. It's like, oh, great.
Ugh,
There's some cheese that you're throwing on. I'd rather you cook it in, but that's totally fine.
you've
But
changed, Elle. You've changed. You sound like somebody who's been to Nice once.
it was
Okay.
canned. But yes,
Oh yeah, that's what I meant.
it was canned. Also, not a big pasta person. Don't really love pasta. So I'm not really ordering any of that too much anyway. I think pasta's trash. Don't at me.
Whoa, hold on. Wait, what?
Yeah, I think pasta's trash. I
I've
think it is
known
the
you
most
for how
overrated
long?
food of all the foods. That's what I think.
It is. It's literally a global staple. Elle, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like pasta without sauce?
Pasta in general.
Any
Pasta.
variation, vodka sauce, Alfredo, spaghetti, lasagna. What?
Doesn't matter. When I go to an Italian restaurant, I am ordering probably fish, typically. I love Italian food. I don't love pasta.
That is Italian food.
So is fish. How they prepare it with their butters and their oils and their shallots and their garlic like that. I love all of that. I don't want it over a pasta. I'm all
When
set.
did
I
this
don't like
happen?
pasta.
When
I
did this
haven't liked
happen?
pasta my whole life.
Are you
I don't
gluten
care.
intolerant?
No, I just feel like if I'm going to have to pick and choose my carbs, I'm not choosing pasta. I think it makes me feel heavy. There's a ton of cream. I'm just all set. I will have fish or a chicken, and I like it
Okay.
Italian style, and that'll be that.
So it's less about how it tastes and it's more about how it makes you feel,
Correct.
Elle.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, let's get to the bottom of it. Pasta is delicious and good. You
Yeah.
just don't like the repercussions.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine. It's not even about the pasta. It's always about the sauce anyway. None of you just eat buttered pasta unless you're six. 6 year olds eat buttered noodles. Like that is a meal for children. The only thing that makes the pasta good is all the you dump all over it.
Okay, get
So
me on
that's
the
not the
phone.
pasta then. That's not about the pasta. That's about the Fredo sauce or the vodka sauce or the penne sauce. It has nothing to do with the pasta itself.
Get me on the phone with the powers to be at NABJ. They need to kick you out.
No. Now, if I said something crazy like fried chicken sucks, maybe
Oh, you're stupid.
playing into all the stereotypes. All right,
Oh
what's
my
the next
God.
one? What is this video? It's a man swimming. What happened? Did he get
This
confused?
this is the
Oh, are we making fun of his dad bod? Is that what this one's about?
no, this is the capped crusader.
Who is that?
This is Bob the cap catcher. When the swim caps fall off, this is the guy that you call. He's basically like the lifeguard for the caps.
Oh, is that why he looks like this?
Yeah. What do you mean, buoyant?
No,
L.
he sort of looks like at first when I saw this, I was like, oh, there's a guy streaking. Like there's a guy that's gonna jump into the pool and some kind of protest. He's wearing,
I bet
Speedos that have like a lot of colors on them. He's got a little bit of a dad bod situation happening. Look at this guy.
I bet you would like that, you sicko. Now, before your twisted fantasies run amok, go to the next one, L.
All right. Oh, this is a good one. We mentioned this one. This
Yeah.
is the video of all of the swimmers that were participating in the triathlon coming out of the Seine, which we already
Yes.
know is filled with and gross. And they are puking. They are actually puking after doing this part because it is disgusting. As I mentioned before, zero chance they didn't get some bacteria, maybe a
Yes.
couple of dead body parts. There is a lot happening in that river, and you wouldn't know because it's so brown you can't see, but it is disgusting.
That's correct, L. And I'm going to tell you right now, maybe you'll agree with me. I would much rather be the guy in the forefront of your picture puking than the guy in the background who looks like he is knocking on death's doorstep because everybody knows, everybody who's thrown up knows as soon as you throw up, you are rebirthed.
Yeah, you're better.
You feel so much better. So this guy right now, we caught him in his moment of agony. We know that. But
Yeah.
as soon as he stands upright, my man is going to feel like a million bazillion bucks. That guy up against the stanchion, his head tilted like this guy wants it to end right now.
Yeah. He's not feeling great. In fact, that's probably how DJ Khaled feels after he goes crazy on his ice cream freezer. That's right, folks.
I would love
While
to
we
see
like
this
to
ice cream.
throw out what you could win gold medals in, apparently renowned DJ Khaled could win for his what could only be described as grocery store level freezer of ice cream. This is absolutely ridiculous.
This is
And
awesome.
honestly, when you look at the body type, totally on par.
He's got the pint size. Breyers is my favorite, the mint chip top shelf, which is the top shelf ice cream. But DJ Khaled, he was supposed to have been on like a health kick. I think he's kicked the health part of that out of the equation.
I mean, here's my thing is that like keeping ice cream in the freezer for too long, it will get freezer burn. So like
Correct.
you're either like all of this ice cream is either already bad and or you're literally eating ice cream so much that you are able to stock it in that way. And that is I know he's got a couple of kids, but oh my God. And my kids
Yeah.
will eat their weight in ice cream. And this is still just too much and a lot.
And you know what I do appreciate out of this? This isn't a paid post because it's so many different brands that there's no way that this was just like for show or for social media. You and I have been a part of this. If you're doing something for a brand, that can be the only brand in the picture. And
Sure.
you got Breyers, Haagen-Dazs, Ben and Jerry's, some stuff I've never seen, Jenny's, I've never heard of that before. Like you got all kind of brands. So this is a passion project for DJ Khaled. Somebody called him DJ Caloric. Somebody said he's not saying we the best, he's saying we diabetic.
Oh my God.
Isn't that funny?
That's
I
so
read I
bad.
read all of that on
We
Twitter.
are
Please don't get mad at
very
me. Yeah. We diabetic.
I wonder if he knows the names for all of them because that of course was a big talker on our show earlier this week how we get around not knowing people's names. Gary famously did not know his family member's name that he has known for over 20 years that comes all the time. And so we wanted to present it to the voicemail.
Yeah.
What do you do? What are your workarounds when you don't know somebody's name that you should know? And we actually got a couple of responses on the voicemail that we will play for you now.
Hey, Elle. Hey, Gary. This is Lee from Philly, and I heard the whole spiel, the whole section of the conversation about trying to remember folks' names. No lie, I'm so horrible with names that every year in college, I gave my roommates the nickname roommate as a term of endearment. But little did they know, it's because I couldn't remember their name.
Wow. That's actually really bold just because, like, when I give people terms of endearments because I don't know their name, it's typically I don't live with them.
Fair
Typically, we
enough.
don't share a space together. I feel like that is a name you should probably know and know well. But yeah, no, go on, Lee. Go off, sis.
Lee, I respect though. Shout out Lee. That's my middle name. Okay. I respect the commitment to the bit and the commitment to absolutely refuse to, while your roommate's gone, rummage through some of her, I'm assuming, stuff. Okay. Backpack, computer, name tag, gotta be somewhere. I do like roomie, roommate, roomie as that is a term of endearment in my estimation, but from August to May, to have that stretch of time where you weren't just like, you know what, let me go through some of your papers while you're gone or in the shower. That's boldly.
You have to know someone's name, bro. Like that's not in. I don't think it's a tournament. You don't like walk up to your mechanic and you're like, "Hey, mechanic." That's not like a term
Well,
of endearment. That's like the role that they serve you in your life. But you should
L,
get to know your roommate.
it's easier to do that because oftentimes they have their name tag right on
They
their
do.
chest. And that's
They
why I'm
do.
like, what's up, Meineke? Good to see you again. That's
Yeah.
a real interesting name there, Jiffy Lube.
Where now? Where origin is Valvoline?
Yeah, for real. Oh, wow. Is that, do you know Hosier? Do you know Hosier?
Holsier. And we have
Yeah.
one more voicemail for you from someone that wants to weigh in on the not knowing someone's name department. And this is a tough one because it's kind of her job.
Hi, Elle. I saw your video and I wanted to say that the art of not knowing somebody's name is very tricky because I am a teacher. So when I don't know a kid's name that comes up to me, especially if it's been years and now they're all old, they look at me and say, "Hey, are you Mrs. Schuster?" And I say, "Absolutely. How are you?" "Oh, I remember that essay you wrote." And then they start talking more and more, so it gives me more time to know them. And then I say, "Didn't your brother or sister go to school?" "No, that wasn't them. Maybe it was your cousin." And it gets them to talk more and more. And then I say, "How are your parents?" And I ask them questions so I never have to ask for their name. And then I make up an excuse like, "Oh, well, I gotta run," and then leave.
That's
Too many
actually very
landmines.
smart. That's very smart.
Oh,
You ask a ton. No, it's smart. You ask a ton of questions so you can get context clues. We talked about that. Where you take a couple swings and misses and you let them help you fill in the blanks, and then you pretend like you knew all along. Like, that's right, your cousin did go here. That's
and
right.
oh God, we see that so differently. I see that as so many landmines. Oh my gosh, how are your parents? Oh, they died.
They're dead.
Remember? Oh yeah, your brother. Wait, what?
You just
No.
ask about family. Now I will
Oh,
correct you there. You have to say family. How's your family doing? That could
okay.
be anybody.
Yeah. It's a lot of landmines though.
I know. What are you doing now? Because when you were in school, remind me what you wanted to do in school again. That's right. You did want to be a writer. Are you still writing? I think she's not wrong. Like, I think you kind of, and
Oh,
I'll even, like, I'm doing that a lot right now. I'm at an NABJ. There's some people
yeah.
that I met years ago. And, again, I can't remember what I wore yesterday. So I'll do a lot of like context clues. Now remind me, where were you at when I saw you? Oh, I was still at LSU. Oh, that's right. Are you finally doing like what it is that you wanted to do?
Yeah,
You
straight
have
up. Oh gosh. I remember your name was going to be in lights. Remember those lights were going to say
what?
bah in lights. And I always knew you had that potential. Always knew I was going to see your headlines. Say it with me. Ah,
How would they spell that marquee, by the way?
yeah, facts. Like, would you use all the letters in your name? My name's Ron.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's
So
three
yes, I think I
letters,
would.
one syllable. Elle, I am praying for you because NABJ, you are there, boots on the ground. We talked about this last week. You are obviously a headliner at the weekend, as you should be. So I'm with you in spirit in the name retention department. Okay,
Thank you. Yeah, I
for sure.
appreciate you. It's great. Everyone wears badges at NABJ, so it makes it markedly more easier to be like, that's right, Jasmine.
But
What
what if it
up? I've
flips?
already met 7 Jasmine, so there's a greater than good chance right now that if I meet you and you're a woman here, your name's probably Jasmine. So I'm gonna go
Is
with that
Jasmine?
too. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And now, if you have any issues, you can be like, let me guess, another Jasmine, and they're like, no, Rebecca, and they're like, oh, because I've met 18 Jasmines. So there's
Right.
your.
Yeah, it's like an and it's a joke now. So there it
Oh,
is. So I'm
I
going to get
know.
back to doing that. I've got a panel with the big three a little later today. Me, Drea, and Shanae, and Monica McNutt. That should be a great time. And we
That's
will
awesome.
see you next week. The track is getting started this weekend, as Coley Harvey told us. We want to give a shout out to Coley, thank him for joining the show. And we will be back with you on Monday, recap what happened over the weekend. And hopefully, I'll be able to tell you that I got to watch Meg the Stallion in the most comfortable place that a 41-year-old who doesn't like going places can. And that is from my hotel room as I watch the stage from right here at I can literally see the stage. So
Oh wait,
I'm
that's
going to
actually
get to
fire.
enjoy Holzier and Meg the Stallion tonight from right here in the comforts of my own room. It's great.
That's class. Enjoy.
Truly. Bye.